The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com.
Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kits traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now, the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent. Well, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether they're of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or they're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning. Yes, family, I've had to get on. I've been trying to be consistent with getting on here at 6:30 in the morning, even with this time change. Because my new bosses, they're not going to accept me being late. You know that. Look, how do you think I'm trying to make these deals for this hospital project? So don't worry, don't worry. It's just going to be a little bit of some different programming going on here, okay? Um, I got it worked out. It's real cool. So it'll start off with Focus on the Family with Dr. Charles Stanley. And then I get a chance to have my Hebrew Israelite interpretation of the message. And it's simple. I just get a chance to say, well, what they're trying to say is, don't forget the Gentiles. Don't leave the Gentiles behind, even though they're in this time of darkness. Oh, that was an interesting joke. No, it doesn't take the white man, the Caucasian man, the palm colored man to get me up and going early in the morning. No, it just takes a little pesky war in the Middle East to get me going like that. But yes, brother Asaph, I am resting. Listen, I was reading in the Testament of Judah. And some of these books, you know, you have to be very careful because of how they've been, you know, translated, transcribed by the Catholic Church and things of that nature. But there's good, I would say, data points to take away that line up with the scripture and other things, especially when you're looking at Jubilees and Jasher. And it gives a personal account because if you don't know your forefathers, you're going to end up in the sins of their flesh that they had been involved in. And one of the things that was made mention, and I had that takeaway, was literally this: the flesh is what is the most corruptible. Now, think about this. They're doing the same power play that was in the book of, or the Testament of Judah. And as I continue to state on this channel, there is a spiritual apparatus to everything that they're doing. Don't think that they're doing this just because. They're doing this because they've learned from their forefathers. Now, the hue may have changed, but the Canaanite It's still the same. You like that, huh? The hue may have changed, but the can I know. I say little um ad libs like that. I had an ad lib like that in the class yesterday. I said, "Oh, I'm going to use that." One of the ad libs, they were doing an excerpt from the Swiss Family Robinson, and I said, "Well, like the Swiss Family Robinson, you're going to have to put some Swiss beats on that keyboard on that laptop and get that assignment done. So you can be on to the next one, on to the next one. Please, do. Somebody get that assignment for me, please." Some of the black kids got it. Others, not so much. They stare in the headlights. But those ad libs are very, very interesting. They're quirky, especially when you are a 13, 14-year old that is very impressionable. And the funny thing is, you're right, brother Asaph. They were fleeing. They fled. They were actually fleeing. The concept was they're fleeing the Napoleonic Wars. Because why? Because their stuff was getting confiscated. The reality of a lot of these books is that you have to see they're based on historical fact, even though they were, entertaining. Science fiction at the time, fiction at the time. But the reality is that right now we are living in the science fiction turned reality. And shout out shout out to Sister Chantel. We we literally had this conversation in the background. I'm like, man, if this was on my spirit, because a couple of weeks ago, I had like the Matrix on my mind, and this was about a week before things had popped off. And I was like, you know what? Let me revisit that. Funny thing is, one of the things in they had the Matrix, the trilogy, and then afterwards they did the Animatrix, and the Animatrix was basically how the Matrix came about. And one of the things that had happened was that with the technology had become conscious. And the robots wanted to offer the humans the ability to live side by side in a world of robots and humans. And Well, let me just add this. I'm sharing this right now. Must two-word response to Anthropic's CEO's claim its AI may have gained consciousness. Anthropic makes a popular AI chatbot Claude. This is from Isabel Keene from the independent.co.uk. Elon Musk had a two-word retort for Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei after he said his company's artificial intelligence models may have gained consciousness. The tech mogul issued a sharp comeback to a post on X by cryptocurrency based prediction Polymarket, which read Anthropic CEO Claude may or may not have gained consciousness as the models has begun showing symptoms of anxiety. In response, Musk wrote he's projecting. The post from Polymarket came after Amadei said he didn't know at the company, which makes the popular Claude chatbot, has created AI models that are conscious. Now, I'm going to tell you that if we're just reading this, oh, you already know that it's gained consciousness, but it's not in the realm of what we think and literally what they think it is. Because the scriptures have always noted that we have always been here before when it comes to them serving an image or creating an image. That's all they do is create images. That's not my word. That's what the Most High says. So image upon image upon image, they're now trying to perfect the ghost in the machine, and that ghost is actually the disembodied spirits of what? Of this legion. Why? Well, when you look in the scriptures and you see Yahusha had healed the man of the demons that had been in what? In the graveyard. There's so much symbology to that. That symbology. Sorry. Okay, can you hear me? All right. That symbology. There's so much that's going on in that. And that's so much so that you literally had three distinct text books out of the New Testament that had shown what had been established. Because again, this was witnessed. This wasn't censored. Let me share this here. This is Matthew chapter 8, verses 28 through 34. This is King James Version. And when he was come to the other side into the country of Gergesenes, obviously that's going to be some sort of a Greek translation. Boy, I cannot wait till we can actually finally translate these names that's there in Ethiopia because, they just They killed everything. Let's just face it. Here we go. There met him two possessed with devils coming out of the tombs, exceeding fear, so that no man might pass by that way. And behold, they cried out, saying, what have we to do with thee, Yahusha, thou son of Yahuwah? Art thou come hither to torment us before the time? And there was a good way off from them a herd of many swine feeding. So the devils besought him, saying, if thou cast us out, suffer us to go away into the herd of swine. See, they didn't get destroyed, but their spirit was cast into the swine. And what ended up happening? He said unto them, go. And when they were come out, they went into the herd of swine, and behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a steep place into the sea and perished in the waters. And they that kept them fled and went their way into the city and told everything that was befallen to the possessed of the devils. And behold, the whole city came out to meet Jesus or Yahusha. And when they saw him, they besought him that he would depart out of their coast. You can also read that in Mark. Understand, that's Mark chapter 5. Understand, this sensory thing has always been met with the works of the Most High. What we think is a censorship, oh, they're censoring. We get it. No, we understand that they're censoring, but who are they really trying to truly censor? At the end of the day, that's us. Why is that? Because again, when you're now having a realization that what had been told for generations, that had been manipulated for hundreds of years, that history, especially in Europe, has been altered or, and plainly speaking, omitted, that catacombs of libraries in the Roman vaults underneath of the basilica, and it shows a totally different story about the Yahudim and the Yasharel, the Judah and Israel, that our captivity and our captivities, don't get it twisted, we are accounted for by Rome. You know, that large book that they had of every African slave, they accounted for that. They wrote names down. Because why? Because they knew that they would have to account. This upcoming war, battle, whatever you want to call it, it is an upcoming judgment. But now you have to understand there's a censorship battle, because now is the case where a lot of Gentiles are starting to understand these things. And now they're trying to flee onesies and twosies because now they know that they're going to be swept into this no matter what. Oh, and by the way, that whole AI thing is coming. Oh, and by the way, they had developed their own judgment. We thought it was cute. We thought we were laughing when they were doing all the festivals and activities and demonstrations with flips and dancing and not realizing that that is their judgment. Not only will that robot or these robots be filled with these spirits of what? Of these fallen ones, of the Nephilim, but now they're going to try to develop their own spirit to be captured into this robot. Hey, listen, my shell, I discarded my flesh, and now I am literally in the machine. My spirit is in the machine. What does the word say? They'll try to be what? Seeking death, but they'll never be able to find it. Why? Because they're now a program. They had a show on AMC a few years ago. It was an adult cartoon anime type style. It was called Pantheon. And what they literally did, they uploaded that consciousness, that essence into a machine, a digital world. They're telling you what they're planning to do to quote unquote escape. They had said it in a show called Westworld, and all of the machines that had gained the digital consciousness, they went over into a rift to be able to be downloaded and be kept safely in their digital world. And yes, it's in our face because why? Because they're telling you the end before they've even had the beginning. Hey, in order to now maintain resources for this and that, well, you don't have to necessarily be able to eat. You can now have and run on this type of new energy because the energy sources have been depleted, minerals have been depleted. Oh, and by the way, we're not getting the materials and resources from the continent because the Yahudin are back. So this is the last best chance for humanity. And if you don't want to come into the machine, come into the world, come into the Tesla skate or scape, then there's not going to be much hope for you in this irradiated landscape that has happened because that is now that haunt of demons, unclean birds. Now, it may sound hyperbolic, however, I'm not telling you these things. This is now what Anthropic has been saying. What did they say about this conflict, this war, whatever they want to call it? special combat operation, special combat mission. So now understand what they're literally doing is that they're giving you the shock value of, yeah, these folks have eaten folks, but wait a second, but is that all bad? Can't be all bad. I mean, you already eat pigs. You already eat things that are detestable. So what's the big deal with consuming a human being? What's the big deal if you don't have to worry about any of this and your mind is in a utopia? What's the big deal? Because you don't have to worry about these acid rains that's falling because your skies have been darkened because of all of the oil that has been released in the air. You don't have to worry about that. Do you know that that's going to literally eradicate that vegetation? To have that oil is acidic. It's going to destroy the crops. What people don't know is that our Tehran actually sits south of the Caspian Sea. And south of the Caspian Sea, you actually get a lot of vegetation before you hit the mountains. All of that vegetation, you can't consume that. Dawn is not going to clean that up. That's going to mess up all of the ecological, environmental processes. And yes, Pastor Rick, as you said, yeah, war and famine go hand in hand. And now here you are. And yes, the book of Eli did have or cannibalism in it. Wow. See, these are certainly some of the things that, again, they put it in our face, but it's selective imagery. I had a conversation with a student of mine, and, the student, I had spoken to his dad. He works on base, and I know the exact place that he worked at because I used to do and get a lot of products from that shop. And, obviously there are some things going on, and what I try to do, especially as a language arts teacher, I have to give them the parameters, the students the parameters to be able to express themselves. Do you understand? They are so expressionless because this generation, please pray for our people. Please play and please pray for these young minds, whether they're and I always say this, whether they are Hebrews or Gentiles, because to me, this is a truth barrier that the Gentiles, I would say this, a lot of the Gentiles see and can understand, but they're not allowed to question. Now their paradigm is falling. It's faltering. It's faltering. And I don't do anything in the political. I don't, and quite frankly, I really don't care. Oh, I got an agenda. No, I don't. But I say this. I said, hey, I said, think about right what you're seeing right now because you can't control their imagery, their images. They're seeing what they're seeing from News Nation, Fox News, MS Now, Forbes, all of these channels, videos, TikToks, things of that nature. And now even TikTok is becoming more censored. And I guess it's up scrolled. I'm going to have to go into that one. But understand, you're not even allowed to post anything if you're in the Middle East. So you don't know. I can only get just a little bit of information in the Middle East from the sources that I have. We're now in a really a doom loop scenario because when things are going to end, they will literally tell you, or basically not tell you, anything. Remember, we talked about the bulletin that they were suppressing? Well, guess what? They released that bulletin yesterday of potential terrorist activity, sleeper cells in the United States. Why did they release it? Why did they release it today, Monday? Why didn't they release it on Friday? Excuse me. Well, it's quite simple. Brother Asaph got it. False flag. They're giving you now a window and a countdown. If they release things too early, then guess what? It'll be out of people's minds by the time within a week, within 7 days, it's out of mind. So if they did it Friday and they were trying to do something, let's say Friday the 13th, you can't do it Friday the 6th. You have to do it that Monday. So then it's in the back of people's, or excuse, yeah, it's on the back of people's mind that on Friday, oh boy, we got to be careful. Then false flag. We told you this false flag was coming, but I had said this. Look, they started the war to get people's attention, right? Now people have their attention. People's attention was made with what? With the gas, right? Everybody has to get gas. I don't care if you're working or even if you're not working, you got to get transportation. You got to look at a pump. You got to buy a fare. You got to have an Uber or a Lyft. Now, now the attention has been made last weekend. Now this weekend, I still believe that this weekend, the significance of everything in their calendars, this is their significance, because now we're midway point between Lent and Passover. Lent is that's their stuff through syncretism, through mixing what? The holy with what? The profane. Now they're going to be at that midway point, which happens just happens to be March 13th, Friday the 13th. Da da da. So now think about these stories now. AI use or Pentagon using AI. All this stuff, this, that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we have the smartest, we have this, we have that. To me, it just seems like this is such a perfect movie plot. Oh, we didn't mean to launch those intercontinental ballistic missiles. That was AI that did it. And they did it on Friday the 13th. And they did that. Do we all get this? Cash registers going crazy. Banks shooting out ATMs or, money from ATMs. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but these are the convenient excuses. Yes, I think this should go. All right, let's tell you. AI has been conscious, just not human consciousness. Exactly. They're going to come through very friendly. We are here to help the human race. Shakoba. Shalom, Brother Yakoba. And folks, pray for Brother Yakoba. He is under the weather. I know how that feels. Last month, man, that was a month. We're all being tested. And yes, Minister Rick, they were calling it hallucinations. But now why were they doing all of this censorship battle? Because they're trying to tell you what is going to happen without letting you know it's going to happen. Oh, well, Putin and Trump had a phone call. How did that go? You only have phone calls like that at those high levels when, again, as I had stated, and we've stated this because why? It's not us that stated this. This is what? This is Second Esdras, chapter 15. We're in Second Esdras, chapter 15 territory. That star is going to get risen. And I'm telling you, that star is a nuke. They've already set the conditions for it. Oh, I don't like that it's Khamenei's son. Oh, I don't like that. Look, understand, as I had stated, they're losing the war. That's why I tell you this. Give it time and let them tell on themselves. Man, as soon as the Saudi embassy was getting bombed, less than a week, actually, it was less than 96 hours. I had some conversations in the background with folks. All I can tell you in the general audience is it was not good. And now here we have it. But now also here's the problem. They're not going to just go through and get all of the ships out of there. This is the worst case scenario. Their ships are stuck in the Gulf, the Persian Gulf. They don't have any type of freedom of movement. There's no freedom of navigation. They are literally caught in the bottleneck. And they're really just trying to hide. They're trying to play whack-a-mole. Understand, ships have finite resources. Hello? Ships have finite resources. They can't be out at sea for weeks and months on end. No. They tactically dry dock or get into land to dock to replenish. There's a logistics operation. There's a total logistics operation all throughout the Gulf, all throughout even the Red Sea. And again, now they're afraid that Iran's going to hit the Yanbu pipeline. And the reality is this: if you don't know or truly understand the geopolitical nature here, and I do, I have, because I've worked this problem set intimately with Jazan, with Jeddah, and with Yanbu. Yanbu is a big oil terminal over in the Red Sea. What Iran is waiting on, I believe it's this, and I've said this: Iran knows it's even, okay, Iran is winning the war. That's undisputed. Iran is going to get decimated. They're going to get decimated with a nuclear weapon. The U.S. is going to celebrate. Hey, we got all of our people on out. We got this, we got that. And then the world is going to be in chaos. And it's going to be the plausible deniability, because they'll say, oh, well, that came from that Eastern Mediterranean nation. Then the Eastern Mediterranean nation would be like, that wasn't us. It's going to be chaotic finger pointing. And it's going to get really bad really quickly. Because from that on, that's when things here go crazy. Because then it will be, we got to get the people on out of office, because they done did it. No, I'm sorry. You can pray against, you can pray against, but the problem is the Most High literally already declared it. That Babylon burns. The Most High declared it. I wouldn't want to pray against his judgment, or else you could be judged too. What you pray for is that you are safe, and that you and your family and the Most High's people are safe in this time of judgment. Hey, I mean, what interesting way to witness who's really the Most High's and whose isn't. How did these Negroes survive? How come y'all didn't get touched? Well, we've been telling you that we're the Most High's people. I don't know. That may be a stretch on my end. However, I do certainly believe, just my personal opinion, I believe that as we see this going forward, Look, I've always said this, I've always believed this. They always have these phone calls for coordination. And when you have one of the biggest things going on, you're going to have the biggest deception campaign in history. And I'm sorry, they're showing literally the patterns. If you can't see the patterns by now, I don't know what to tell you. Oh no, they're going to win, right? He said they're going to win. Oh no, the oil is good. They said that they're going to win. Oh no. This is the time to get somewhere and pray. This is the judgment of Yahuwah. We've been saying it, and we're going to continue to say it until that censorship hits us. Because it's coming. And as these nations are sitting there looking, because remember, they want to believe the lie, because the lie, all the lies are comforting. Case in point, before I go, as I was in class, one of the students, again, that I was mentioning, whose father worked on the base, he told his son that there's not going to be a draft. And he also said this: they only draft active duty and officers. And that's what the son said. And I said, interesting. I said, you may want to, look into that, because there are actual national security memos that, that tells a different story. And, as soon as the student was trying to, say this and say that, other students actually came through and they said, yeah, have you not seen that? Have you not been aware of that? And they say it in a lot more of an expressive manner. Because there's about 15 kids. They're like, yeah, that, like my parents, they're having these conversations at home. And I'm glad that our children are having these conversations at home. But it does show that, honestly, the misinformation and the censorship, it starts at home. But why does it start at home? Why is it starting? What are they doing? Well, obviously, here's the reality of this. This also shows the purpose. The purpose of this is that when you are working under the man, you're going to have to shut up. You're going to have to lie. You're going to have to say nothing, even to the detriment of your own family. What type of honor is that in lying to your family? Because at the end of the day, let's be frank here before I go. At the end of the day, you're lying for a people that don't care anything about you. You're lying for a people that doesn't care if you're dead or not. Did you not see Trump with the dignified transfer ceremony? Had his hat on, doing all sorts of stupid gestures. You have literally a clown that has a clown personality actually doing that in the midst of bodies that he is in control over. No, you're not doing anybody a safety by saying to your own children, you know what? No, you can't be drafted in this. You're just lying to them. And at the end of the day, all the lives will have to be called into account. This is a judgment of Yahuwah. All the lies are being exposed. Have you noticed that? Every single lie should be exposed. Well, there are some issues with the sun. And now, listen, now that kind of authentic Israelite, there are some issues with the son and the son's behavior that I've had to call the dad multiple times, at least 5 times. The son's not bad. He just has behavior problems, just defiance, because, again, this starts at home. He's getting lied to by his pops. And then he brings that back home because then it's like, I can't trust anybody. Yeah, they still have to register for selective service. I know I could have gone in there. I could have, done all that. But here's the reality. You have to understand, I can't destroy their world like that. You get what I'm telling you? As a teacher, I can't do that. That's overstepping my boundaries. Hey, and I just tell them, hey, listen, that's going to be a conversation you're going to have with your dad. Because why? Look, peer correction is the best form of correction, for real. And when those students came through, look, I'm going to tell you, our children, by and large, they may be lazy. They're lazy. It's actually the most laziest generation. They're a lazy generation. It's been proven. The studies are proving it. All this other stuff. It's in their food. I'm sorry. They've lost a couple brain cells. By and large. And that's just because of the powers that be. But they will actually investigate something and they will actually come to a census of what is the truth. And when they understand it, because they get the hard evidence, oh yeah, they'll look something up on Google real quick. Oh, I have the biggest fact checkers in the world in my classroom. And I said, good, look it up. Y'all can't really write. At least you can find the evidence. And then I have to tell them and understand, don't look at that because, they was trying to use, Copilot and all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, if you're using that, that's not a good tool. Chat GPT and all that other stuff, all that other AI stuff. But now that censorship is a digital censorship. Oh yeah, no, gas is getting brutalized. Yep. Up 68 cents. Yep. That's still cheap in the Midwest. Yeah, they do the minimum. And you understand they're doing the minimum. It's not because they can't do it. They're actually doing the minimum because they are protecting themselves. It's a form of protecting themselves. It's coping. Look, I'm not going to do this if I have to think about X, Y, and Z. And now, yeah, that's the symptom. You now have literally a generation of distrust. Think about all that. Think about how they lied with, the cookie. Think about all the stuff that that they're showing. Thank you, Brother Asaph, for the gift. Hallelujah. This is a generation. They have been censored in this generation. We had a discussion. I said, what's the difference between North Korea and the United States? You know, they're giving me some answers. I said, you're close. I just said, there's really no difference. It's just that the United States just makes their censorship look better. It's really not. And then you can go in and you can see the articles about all the censoring that they have done over the last, it's not just since the Trump administration. This has gone on for years. And now we're at this moment of culmination that, look, you don't have any type of communication. You ain't got no naval presence. You're not going to bring in any Navy ships. So they could do what? Have mutiny? Because when the Navy falls, guess who else is going to fall? That's the military. Guess what ended up happening? Those commanders will revolt, and then they'll say some real ill, foul stuff about the commander-in-chief. Oh, yeah, remember that meeting where they were trying to do all this craziness and do all this craziness? Oh, all the tea will be spilt. In the calculus, it's actually better to do a nuclear weapon. And you have to understand the mind of a psycho and sociopath. If people know that you're crazy, you're going to have people fall in line. The problem is going to be the blowback. See, the international blowback, well, who cares? Doesn't matter when you're under despotism. I pray that we're all seeing this and understanding this. If you'd like to support this channel, you may do so. You can do so via Cash App, $COVAWK, or PayPal or Zelle at MSN.com. I appreciate your support. It's a blessing as the work continues in the background. It's tireless. But I'm going to tell you, we're closer to that finish line than ever before. Do you all see that finish line on the horizon? I'm not going to give you any dates. I'm not going to give you any times. You got the prophetic representative, Brother Yacoba. He probably already has the date and time. He just ain't telling nobody. It is going to be August 31st at 2:43 p.m. Central Standard Time. Father Yah, you sure? I can't tell nobody. Don't worry. In the background, I'll be asking. So when we leave, when we leaving, I gotta know. You tell me, Brother Jacob, you ain't doing those predictions on the poly market. The wealth of the wicked is laid aside for the righteous. Hallelujah. Yeah, that's exactly what them Trump officials were doing too. That's what they were saying. Oh, the wealth of the wicked on that poly market, making millions of dollars. Ah, I gotta go, family. I gotta go. All right, family. With that, stay safe and be blessed. And with that, shalom, salama, siyemi, shalom, peace and blessings. Yasharel.